Hello, this is the Watchdog, and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today, we're going to review the Cadisen C7063, homage to the Bulova lunar pilot. Let's start with the wrist check. I'm wearing the Citizen Eco Drive, and Greg was wearing my Welly Merc Landform series. When we had breakfast at summer camp, they served cereal. I told Grogu he had a choice between Fruit Loops, Lucky Charms, or Cheerios. He said, Cheerios? Did we lose a Star War? All right, let's take a look at the watch. It's a Cadisen, so they always come in these boxes. I've never seen a Cadisen that didn't come in this type of box. But if it works, it works. Nothing wrong with it. And here's the watch. Isn't that a good looking watch? I like it. I think they did a good job with it. And yes, it has a small second chronograph, which is why I wasn't going to get it at first. But then the I Like Watches guy, Gary, he got one, and then he had trouble sizing it. So I just wanted to make sure that Gary's issue was an anomaly and not a regular thing. I had no problem sizing it, though. One proof that modern watches have become more of a fashion accessory than an actual tool is the popularity of the analog chronograph. They are completely obsolete in function, easily surpassed by our phones or even a modern digital watch such as the Timex Iron Man with its split function and lap time ability. We like them because we like the looks of those subdials, even though we rarely use them. So when Cadisen put together this C7063, which looks a lot like the Bulova lunar pilot, they had to choose between the more expensive but more useful go-to chronograph movement, the large second Megaquartz VK63, or the less useful but more affordable small second VD53. Cadisen chose the latter, which is why you can get these solid steel beauties in the $40 range. Right now they're going for $36 on the big summer sale. This watch comes in 3 different colorways. I chose the Blue Panda, which is something Bulova offers in their smaller 43.5mm version. If you don't like the Blue Panda, there's also 2 colorways that Bulova does not offer, a reverse Blue Panda and also a PVD-coated all-black model. The watch is 40.5mm at the bezel, but 42.5mm if you measure at the case. So this is a pretty big watch, especially considering that the tachymeter is underneath the crystal and not a bezel. It's 48.2mm lug to lug with inverted end links, so that helps it wear a bit smaller. It's 12mm thick, which doesn't seem too thick for a watch in this size. And it has a 19mm leg width, so that's kind of odd. I don't know why they didn't go 20. And there's no taper, because why would you when you're only 19mm to begin with? And it weighs 137 grams on the supply bracelet with 2 links removed. Yes, I only removed the 2 links. So this watch doesn't have the longest bracelet in the world. Then we have the bezel. The bezel's brushed. And it looks nice, matches the case. And then we have the inner bezel, which is the tachymeter. But once again, this is a small second chronograph hand. So you basically, if you're using the tachymeter, you have to take the seconds and translate it to the actual watch. So you can actually read the bezel. But really, how often are you going to do that? And then we have the dial. The dial has a texture to it. And I like the texture. I think they did a good job with that. And then we have the minute markers and sub-minute markers. And then we have the indices. We have a double baton at the 12. We have single batons everywhere else. And then we have short little indices where the subdials are. Not all watches do that. Sometimes they totally leave the indices out where the subdials are. But since this dial is so big, they can do that. Then we have the Cadisen name up top. And not the, well, I guess you do have the logo because they use it to dot the I. And then we have the hands. We have fence post hands, minute and hour. And then we have a spear tip second hand. And for the most part, the second hand, sometimes it hits the mark, sometimes it doesn't. I don't think it misses them enough. It just depends on where it is on the dial. I don't think it misses them enough, though, to set off your OCD. And then there is no date on this watch. And I'm pretty sure a VD53 has a date. So let's see if we have a ghost date here. I forgot to check. Yes, we have a ghost date. You can feel the date wheel moving. Ghost date. It would have been nice to put a date there at the 4:30. Some watches won't do it because they say it ruins the symmetry. I don't think that's the case. A lot of these more expensive chronographs don't have dates just because a chronograph complication is so complicated for an automatic watch that they often leave out dates, not because of symmetry. So since this is a quartz, I think a date would have been just fine. And then we have the subdials. We have the chronograph second hand on the bottom. And if you notice, it's just a hair bigger than the other two subdials. And then it says 60-second there. And that's just because the Bulova has the 262 hertz there. So they just put 60 seconds there so they could put something there. And this is a small second chronograph. Just press the top pusher and it starts ticking away. Only once a second. There are no sub-seconds. Press it again to stop. And this is not a mecha quartz, so you get the fast rewind. Then the right subdial, we have a 24-hour indicator. Not much use there, but some people think it's useful. I was told that the Japanese who work such long hours in the office like them because then they can know what time of day it is. And then we have the chronograph minute counter on the left. Then we have a signed screw down crown. I don't know why they bothered with screw down because this is only a 50-meter watch. But they went screw down, so I guess it doesn't matter. It's a quartz watch with no date, so you're not going to be using the crown a lot. And then we have the pushers. They are not screw down. So once again, having a screw down crown and not screw down pushers seems kind of pointless. Then we have the crystal. The crystal is great. It's nice and big and sapphire and hardly any reflection. I really like this crystal. You can see through it just fine. And it's big. Since it has an inner tachymeter and not an outer, they had to make the crystal bigger. So really good job with the crystal. Then we have the case. I really like the case too. It's fully brushed. Has a nice shape. And really like it. It sits nice and good nice and flat on the wrist. And I do like that. One thing I wanted to tell you too is the pushers here. A real Bulova Lunar Pilot, the pushers are not round. They're rectangular and they're long on one side, like they indent. Then we have the Caseback. The Caseback is a screw down also. It says Cadisen, all stainless steel. Water resistance 5 ATM. Then it gives the model number. Then we have the Cadisen logo in the middle there. Nothing wrong with the Caseback. They kept it nice and short, so it keeps the watch width or the watch height fairly short. Underneath the Caseback is the Seiko VD53 movement. This is their more affordable chronograph alternative with the small second that only ticks once a second and no sub-seconds. Invicta seems to be using these all the time now. It just seems to be a more affordable option. And yes, it's not a very useful chronograph, but once again, are you going to use the chronograph? You do get the 3 subdials, which is the main appeal. And then we have the bracelet. The bracelet has solid end links, and they're inverted. And then we have the links themselves. They're kind of curvy. Not as curvy as a Rolex President, but they're curvier than an oyster-style bracelet. And then we have push pins, not screw pins. They came out just fine for me. Once again, Gary from I Like Watches had a heck of a time with his. But he had the black PVD coated, and so he was wondering if the PVD coating was interfering with the pins. So I guess if I was going to test it to see if it was an anomaly or not, I should have got the black PVD coated, but I did not, and I'm not going to buy another one just to test the pins. but they came out for me, no problems at all. There are no half links though. So to get the perfect fit is not always an option with links this big. And then we have a clasp. It's a butterfly and it's bi-directional. It doesn't matter which direction you close. It's push button. I'm not a big fan of butterfly clasp. Yeah, I know they look good, but I just like having micro adjust instead. And even if you have half links, that's still a lot harder to do than micro adjust. But it is a nice looking bracelet. Here's the watch on my 7.5-inch wrist. It's a big watch, but it's not as big as the Bulova. The Bulova is 43.5 if you get the newer version and 45 if you get the original. But it looks nice. Sits nice and flat on the wrist. Look at that. And it has inverted end links, so that really helps too. So I like it. I think it looks really nice. I'm glad I got the watch now. Like I said, I wasn't going to get it at first just because of the VD53. But now I have no regrets. And I'm not going to show it to you on another strap though, because I don't have any 19mm straps. Here we are in the Lume room, just wearing the watch for review purposes. I could tell it had Lume. So let's see how good it is. As we speed up the time, we see that it starts out with a pretty good burst and none of the subdials are loomed. The tip of the second hand is by far the weakest thing on the watch. Unfortunately, the other hands, especially the minute hand, are a bit weaker than the indices and are starting to fade pretty fast. This Lume is decent, but not actually good. What do I like about this watch? Well, it looks and wears nice. They really nailed the look of the Bulova Lunar Pilot other than the pushers. I love the sapphire crystal, hardly any reflection. It's nice and flat. I like this textured dial. What are my gripes and groans? A VD53 movement means small second chronograph hand. That just bugs me, especially when there's a tachymeter. Having a butterfly clasp means there's no micro adjust. Plus the bracelet could be longer. I only removed 2 links. 19mm leg width will probably mean you don't have any straps for it. Do I recommend this watch? Sure. Despite the VD53 and the 19mm leg width, this is a really nice looking chronograph at a very reasonable price. I've really enjoyed wearing it. Well, thank you for watching my review of the Cadisen C7063, and I will be back with another review or unboxing. Actually, I think it's an unboxing because I think I have 2 things coming from AliExpress today. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you like this watch, be sure to use my affiliate link and I will get a small commission. And be sure to order it now because it's super cheap during the summer sale. Bye.